at Foxwoods this Saturday night, June 29th. Featured on HBO, and the start time is
9:45.
9:45, and that's East and West.
That's East and going both. Yes. Sure.
Okay, so it's 9:45 East and West at HBO, but we hope you get your tickets and come to Foxwoods. There's still plenty of good seats available. Ticket prices are $300 for VIPs, $200 ringside, $90 and $45. We just opened up a section today, so there are plenty of the $45 cheap seats available for those who need things to be affordable, and we attempted to make this event affordable. In a world of boxing that right now is not an even playing field, where the best fights often aren't made, where the best rarely fight the best, we're proud to be able to bring you what we think is a terrific show. The show will begin with an untelevised undercard that features Boston fan favorite Danny O'Connor, who's managed by Ken Casey of the Dropkick Murphys. Danny has a record of 20-1 with 7 KOs. And it'll also feature one of the most promising prospects on my roster. He's a super bantamweight from Hartford, a big ticket seller at Foxwoods, Luis Rosa, 13-0 with 6 KOs. We then go to the televised card, and in the opening bout of the televised card, NABF junior middleweight champion Willie the Great Nelson, 21-1 with 12 KOs, squares off against Luciano Cuello, 32-2 with 16 KOs. Luciano's only 2 losses were to Canelo Alvarez in a very hotly disputed close decision, actually a controversial decision, with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. The middle bout, the co-featured bout, features a young man that I think is a future star, Thomas Weesthuizen of South Africa. Tommy Gunn. Tommy is a terrific fighter, power, boxing ability, speed, everything you could ask for. And he's in with Brandon Gonzalez, an undefeated fighter in his own right, promoted by Goose and Tudor Promotions with a record of 17-0. So somebody, who's going to take a huge step forward in that fight, establish themselves as an up-and-coming star, and someone's going to take a big step back. And then the main event, if you were going to ask anyone in the world to name the top 5 middleweights in the world, both of these gentlemen's names would appear. The WBA champion, Gennady Golovkin, he's already been ordained by a lot of people as the second coming. We in Team Macklin think he has to prove it, and we don't think he's going to be able to walk through that fire on Saturday night, but if he does, then he's going to earn his stripes. And Matt Macklin should already be a world champion. He beat Felix Sturm clearly and decisively. He gave Sergio Martinez hell. Was ahead in the fight through the middle rounds and just simply couldn't catch up to a more elusive man later, and got caught later in the fight. But it was a terrific performance in a sold-out theater at Madison Square Garden. Again, tickets you can get at 1-800-FOXWOODS or at the Foxwoods box office. I want to bring up a guy that was instrumental in making this fight. I think also my friend Tom here, Tom Loeffler of K2 Promotions, our co-promoter, has a little presentation he wants to make. But I want to bring up Peter Nelson, the director of programming at HBO Sports.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to everyone in the press for coming out. This is a strong showing. I know there's also a strong showing brewing already in Foxwoods. I know Macklin's Army's already there. They're probably already partying. For the Kazakhs already showing a full force for Gennady Golovkin. I know a lot of tickets have been sold on both sides by both teams. This is great. We're excited to have a great event there once again. I want to thank both Lou DiBella and Tom Loeffler, who worked incredibly hard along with the fighters and their teams in order to ensure that the business of boxing wasn't going to interfere with the fans' wishes, which was to see 2 of the best middleweights in the world square off toe-to-toe. For us, this was a type of dream match, given where each fighter is in their respective careers. We wanted to see a test for each man where the stakes were going to be at their maximum. On Saturday night, we're going to find out exactly what the truth is about Gennady Golovkin's storied and ordained, as Lou said, by many of you and actually in the press, of what you say about Gennady Golovkin as being one of the brightest young lights in boxing, something obviously our network has supported as we've watched him run a demolition derby in his first appearance on the network, his subsequent fight, which he fought with the flu, and most recently, for those of you who saw his tremendous knockout of Nobuhiro Ishida over in Europe. Matthew Macklin, for his part, has had a terrific rise in recent years. He's a fan-friendly fighter. Both these fighters do not know how to fight going backwards. You're definitely going to see no lack of concern from the crowd of this fight going the distance. And it's something that we believe is going to make for fireworks on Saturday night. Neither guy actually particularly resembles a killer physically. I was sitting with Matthew actually at the Boxing Writers Association of America awards dinner, and a woman came over, a friend of mine. She put her arm around my shoulder and pointed at Matthew, and she goes, "Man, your boss seems really nice." Gennady, for his part, my mom called me after his last fight and said, "Is he even old enough to fight?" Obviously a baby boy look, and the two of them, when they get in the ring, just become killers. So for us, we're excited to see not only the main event, but as Lou mentioned, a lot of what's on the undercard, both what you'll see on the non-televised portion if you go out to Foxwoods, which I encourage you to do, but if you're watching the HBO telecast, for us, we have a great interest in the two undercard fights. Willie Nelson is a tremendous up-and-coming contender who was of a preternatural size when he was at welterweight and has now moved up to light middleweight, and against Luciano Coelho, whose only two losses have been against Canelo and Chavez. As far as the Tommy Gunn bout and Brandon Gonzalez, two undefeated top contenders at 168, red hot division for us right now, and we're looking forward to seeing how both those fights go. We want to see a statement from the winner in both fights. We don't just want to see a guy win, but we want him to win the event. Both guys have a whole lot at stake. So for us, we're excited about the event. I should also plug the 2 days that we did on Gennady Golovkin. When I saw how sick he was before the Rosado fight, and when I saw our camera crews following him around, I figured it would just be 13 minutes of him hacking up a lung, but it turned out to be an incredibly compelling portrayal and very significant and insightful look as to what these men do when they go into a fight under 100%. You never hear excuses from either one of these gentlemen. That's why these are fan-friendly fighters. You'll never hear an excuse out of either of their mouths. They come to fight, they come to entertain, they come to deliver for the fans, and we at HBO are grateful that we were able to be a part of it. Thank you.
After this fight, they're going to have to do 2 weeks with Matt Macklin. Actually, I'll be remiss. I want to acknowledge a couple of people in the room. The man that Tommy Gunn was really brought up by as a fighter, who promoted him, was my partner in South Africa. He's been the leading promoter in Africa for decades and decades. He's a great promoter, probably a future Hall of Famer. Rodney Berman. Want to stand on? And I acknowledge a couple of ex-fighters of mine who are in the room. Dimitri Salita, thanks for coming, and Paulie Malignaggi, you represented Brooklyn well on Saturday night. Nobody wanted to fight this guy, partially because HBO's ordained him as the king already, and a lot of you guys in the press, despite the fact that his record doesn't show exactly a laundry list of beasts. As the B-side, he's undoubtedly a terrific fighter and a terrific prospect. His amateur record was, beyond compare almost, and his knockout ratio is ungodly. And most guys run for the hills. That's why you saw guys like Gabriel Rosado were simply too small to compete, and a lot of guys, Ishida, who really can't fight. But the truth of the matter is, it's not his fault. It's just people aren't running the fight because they don't have the balls. That's what's different about Macklin. So he has the balls, and he knows who he is, and he knows what kind of fighter he is, and he knows that nobody on the other side of that ring is going to scare him away, and he's not going to be scared on Saturday night. That's why we think we're going to win. But I promise you this: whether we win or lose, you're going to have to walk through the fire, Gennady, and it's going to be the hardest fight of your career. And we know that Matt has a tough road ahead of him. but we also know that he's had a tough road ahead of him many, many times. And there is no tougher road than Sergio Martinez. And Sergio was a more physically fit fighter when he fought Macklin than he was in his last fight, and he remains the king of the middleweights. And Matt gave him hell. And Matt schooled Felix Sturm. That was one of the greatest robberies I've seen in the last 5 years. So, no matter what, I give credit to Gennady because I know that he's a great champion and he doesn't fear anybody. But give credit where it's due. The whole world has run away from this guy, except for this man. And my salute goes to Matt Macklin for that. Got a great team with him. Guy who looks like a friggin' leprechaun. He's been around boxing forever. He's been the leading figure in Irish boxing for a long time, and he's been a pleasure to work with Matt. Brian Peters.
Thank you, Lou. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all very much for attending here today. You know, Gennady certainly is getting I think since JC came on the planet, no one's got quite the kind of build-up of this man is getting. So whether he's Superman, Man of Steel, we're not so sure. But one thing we're certainly sure of is Matthew Macklin will take him to places that he's never been. He will hit him more than he's ever got hit. He will hit him harder than he's ever got hit. So Mr. Sanchez, you'll have your work cut out. When he goes back to that corner, he'll go through experiences Saturday night that he's never experienced. Matthew Macklin has been there and he's come back out of it. We're very much looking forward to it. I'd like to thank HBO for the opportunity. I'd like to thank the champ, Gennady, Tom Loeffler, for this opportunity. And I'd like to thank Lou DeBella and all his team. Thank you very much.
It's refreshing to be in a promotion where everybody actually respects one another. No one banged anyone's girlfriend, nothing like that. But Tom and I have worked together for many, many years. We go back to my HBO days when he was involved with the Klitschko's, and the Klitschko's were a staple on HBO. When you're still involved with them, it's just the HBO's not. Well, actually, maybe they will be going forward. Gennady's a class act, and Abel, one of the great trainers in boxing. It's always a pleasure to see Abel. And a new friend, Max Sherman, who I just met. But this is, the people on this side of the table are class people. The people on this side of the table are class people, and it's just nice to be involved in an event that's this competitive, where there's this much at stake, and nobody's shitting on anybody. So, for that, I thank everyone. I want to bring up, speaking of staples, a guy who's been a part of the New York boxing scene forever. He lives in Florida a lot of the time now, but he's really a friggin' New Yorker, and he knows it. James Buddy McGirt. And he's wearing a man purse, and I hope somebody calls him to task for that.
It's called the MERS. I'm moving back to Jersey, so I'm coming home. You know, good afternoon. It's amazing. You get a fighter and you say, I want a fighter that wants to fight everybody. But this fucking guy, man, it's like, they call me, we fighting Martinez. Shit. We're fighting Alcine. Shit, I've stopped answering Brian Peters' calls. Then he called me and says, we're fighting Golovkin. I'm like, you can't get an easy fight, man? You know what I mean? Just once, can we just train for an easy fight? But I would like to say that to Mr. Glovkin, thank you for giving Matthew the opportunity. I think it's a great fight for HBO and for boxing. Something that boxing really needs, the best fighting the best. You know what I mean? And I think it's great for the sport. And people ask me, buddy, what is your game plan? What are you going to do? What are you going to do different? When you fight a guy that punches like this guy, from what I've seen, you just got to keep it basic, you know? Hands up, chin down, and your ass off the ground, and you're ahead of the game. You know what I mean? But this is a fight that's going to come down to nuts and guts. I mean, that's what I feel. It's going to come on the nuts and guts. And I just think it's going to be a great fight. And I just want to say thank you all. I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you, and God bless.
You know, this isn't a Don King press conference. We're going to finish it about a third of the average time that Don did. I'm going to bring up now my partner in this promotion, Tom Loeffler, to introduce the trainer and manager of Gennady Golovkin.
Thanks, Lou. Just want to reiterate, it is nice doing a promotion where everyone gets along. I actually did think Brian Peters was a leprechaun. I wasn't sure about that, but Brian's a great guy, terrific guy. I've known Lou for a long time. I know Buddy McGirt since when I was managing Kevin Kelly, and he was a welterweight champion, and Kevin was fighting on his undercard at the Garden, so we go way back as well. Buddy's also been to Germany for one of the Klitschko fights, and it's a class act, the whole Macklin side. I want to start out with thanking HBO, especially Peter Nelson, the entire team at HBO, but Peter was very instrumental in putting this fight together. Without the support of HBO, this fight clearly wouldn't have happened. They wanted to put together the best possible fight right now for Gennady, and clearly with the respect that Matthew has and who he's fought in his career, there's no better fighter that they could have gotten. So with that, before I get into the introductions, I want to just present Peter with a small memento. This is actually a piece of art by Richard Sloan, and it has both Gennady and Matthew on it, and it has the HBO logo on it. So I just wanted to give the first piece to Peter Nelson.
I'm gonna hang it over my bed. Thank you.
But they really stepped up to make this fight happen right now. Usually I'm not known for being brash at press conferences, and both fighters are very respectful of each other. I will say though that we think, and this is all due respect to Lou's other client and a few other middleweights out there, we think that Gennady is the best middleweight in the world right now. There's no question in our mind. The only thing is in order for him to prove that to everybody else out there, he's got to show that in the ring. In order for him to show that in the ring, he needs to get somebody in the ring that he can prove that against. And that's where Matthew, we have to give him a lot of credit. As Buddy said, he hasn't had a lot of easy fights. Knocking down Sergio Martinez, and then losing in a hotly contested fight, and then not impressively knocking out Alcine in the first round. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. But what Gennady's achieved right now, a lot of people think he's maybe a little bit too overhyped, or has risen a little bit too quickly in people's minds, but the amateur career that he had is pretty much unparalleled. He was Olympic silver medalist, but he moved up to give to the super middleweight division. That's why he had wins over Andre Durrell and other esteemed Lucien Boutet knocked out in the amateurs. He actually moved up to super middleweight in order to give the other person on the Kazakh team the opportunity, who won the gold medal at middleweight. So there's a lot of backstories to that. His record was 350 and 5 losses, something like that. But he's been with Abel Sanchez now for the last 3 years at the Big Bear Training Center, and they've been ready for these opportunities. When he fought Proxa on HBO last September, he was ready to go. He was ready to prove his talents in the ring on a world stage, especially on the stage of HBO. And with that knockout in the 5th round of one of the, he's a European middleweight champion, and then following that up with the Rosado fight. I think it was clearly documented in the 2-day special how sick he was, and Abel and I weren't trying to be dramatic on that. In fact, we actually didn't tell HBO that he was sick until the morning of the fight, and that's when they kind of did all that footage. But we think that special turned out great. Without going too far onto it, he's riding 13 wins now consecutively as knockouts. He has the highest knockout percentage of any active champion and the highest knockout percentage of any middleweight champion in history. And that is clearly due to his work with Abel Sanchez, who we consider to be also one of the best trainers around. I want to acknowledge Max Herman. Max isn't going to speak today, but he's the manager of Gennady, and he's done a terrific job guiding him, and it's been a great team. Also his brother Oleg Herman. It's been a great team in terms of not only building Gennady here in the United States, but also internationally. I also like to recognize Rodney Berman, who promoted the last show that Gennady was on, when he knocked out Ishida. Even though Luke kind of dismissed Ishida a little bit, I think personally knocked out Yeah, James Kirkland. I think Kirkland thought Ishida was a pretty good fighter when he got knocked out by him. But and Rosado, even though he was coming up from junior middleweight, he was actually physically bigger than Gennady. But again, it's only against somebody like Matthew Macklin's caliber that Gennady will get the credit that he deserves. So with that, I'd like to bring up Gennady's trainer, Abel Sanchez. Thank you.
Good afternoon. You know, when they asked me about this fight, the first thing that I thought about was it's the first time that I get to match wits with Buddy, who's a great trainer. That's, in my mind, Matthew's biggest asset. He's got a calming influence in the corner, a calming influence in the gym, and I think it's going to be a difficult fight because of that. But I want to thank the Macklin team to finally have somebody that stands in front of Gennady so Gennady can show exactly what he's all about. I'm looking for a tough fight, but I'm also looking for a short fight. I think it's going to be exciting for as long as it lasts. Thank you very much.
Beware what you wish for. On that note, the next WBA middleweight champion of the world, Macklin.
Just want to thank everyone involved in making the fight. HBO, particularly Peter Nelson, Lou, everyone at DiBella Entertainment, Tom, and everyone at K2 and Gennady for giving me the opportunity. I want to thank Sky Sports for who'll be televising the fight live back in the UK and Ireland. Just want to thank my team, Buddy, Brian Peters, my brother Seamus, who was a massive help out in Spain in the first part of the camp, Tomas Rohan, I'd say Lou DiBella and everyone at DiBella Entertainment, and all my family and friends who have made the journey over and have supported me throughout my career. Third time fighting for the world title. I was unlucky against Sergio, give him a good fight, but he proved the champion he was, and in the end he was the better man the night. Do feel I'm a better fighter now though for those two experiences. Bounced back with a strong win against Alcine in September. But this is the toughest fights, the hardest challenges have always brought the best out in me, and I think the fight with Gennady is going to highlight that more than ever. He's hyped up. He's 26-0, 23 knockouts. I think the biggest knockout ratio in any of the world champions in boxing at the moment. But he really hasn't, without no disrespect to the guys he's fought, but he really hasn't fought anyone, certainly of not my caliber. And you struggle to say anyone that was a world-class middleweight. The amateurs are the amateurs. This is the professionals. He was winning world championships when I was having 12-round wars. So I'm a lot longer in the tooth and a lot more seasoned and a lot harder and a lot more proven. And when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And it's going to be a tough fight on Saturday night. But there will be a new middleweight champion of the world leaving that ring.
Again, a lot of respect to Matthew Macklin. I will agree with the point that he is the toughest fight that Gennady's had in the ring. Certainly the most respected person that's challenged Gennady. We feel confident in Gennady's ability. He's one of the hardest working guys I've ever been around, and I've been around some hard working guys with both the Klitschko brothers. They train really hard, and Gennady in the gym, under the guidance of Abel. So without going on further, I'd like to bring up Gennady. This is actually the fourth language he speaks, so you have to forgive him. He's really made a concerted effort to improve his English. He speaks Russian, Kazakh, German, and now he's definitely improving his English. So he's going to hold the press conference in English, and if there's any questions that he might not understand, Max will translate for him. So I wanted to bring up the IBO, WBA middleweight champion, Gennady Golovkin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see everybody. Very close time for big day.
Thank you very much for HBO special for Nelson for me to team. I think it's a great fight for us, just because okay, right now I'm champion. Yeah, very very important for middleweight this fight. I think because I'm champion right now. Matthew is the best opponent for the best challenger for me right now. I am in the situation, very serious situation right now. Just for me, this fight, just who is who, just who is the best. I'm thinking. Great fight. Thank you, sir.
I think what we'll do is we'll pose the fighters, and then Kev, if maybe Gennady will stay on this side here. Max, you can translate for any of the press, and then Matt will stay up here for a little while with Buddy, and you can press come up here and get whatever questions they want over here. Enjoy your lunch. See you at Foxwoods on Saturday night. It's going to be a great night of boxing. I'm proud to be promoting this with K2 and my friend Tom Loeffler. I'm proud to have two great champions sitting on the dais. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, we do post. Want to get out of the way?
Got to get down in front.
Yeah, sorry.